Tansen etute magtiar Wheatley, Nisigasun, o Pasquiacoche. Tawau. Welcome to APTN National News. The Carney government submitted its multi-billion-dollar plan for long-term reform of the First Nations Child and Family Services Program to the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal on Monday. The government's plan commits $35.5 billion to long-term reform to the end of 2034. It also says it will provide an ongoing commitment of $4.4 billion annually after that time period to ensure First Nations children and families have sustainable resources. At an Assembly of First Nations meeting in October 2024, chiefs rejected a proposed $47.8 billion agreement on long-term reform, that was put forward by the Trudeau government, saying it had been reached without enough consultations with First Nations. At a press conference in Ottawa on Monday, Mandy Galmasti said the two agreements contain the same financial commitment from the government.
A commitment that was put forward is one that we continue to maintain. The matrix of evaluation is now on 7 years, with the remaining balance of those funds to be at $35.5 billion. We have continued to fund the actual costs of child and family services from the time of the initial deposit of that commitment. So there is ongoing use of these amounts to ensure that we are able to support First Nations.
The First Nations Child and Family Caring Society and the Assembly of First Nations have also submitted their plan to the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal, dubbed the Loving Justice National Plan. We'll hear more about this from Cindy Blackstock of the Caring Society with Dennis Ward on tonight's newscast. A long-time 2S LGBTQ+ activist in Alberta says she was denied her claim from Indian day schools due to documents being sent too late. APTN's Chris Stewart has the details.
Chevy Rabbit has a large presence in the LGBTQ+ community in Alberta. For over a decade, she has raised awareness of important issues with her Walk a Mile in a Ribbon Skirt and Hate to Hope rallies. Like many others, she suffered as a child in the Indian day schools. In 2019, the federal government announced a settlement for survivors, paying a minimum of $10,000. Chevy says she applied to Deloitte, the multinational corporation handling the settlement, and was told her narrative was missing, which is where you describe the traumatic events that affected you.
I had some stuff that happened to me while I was going to school there, and I had to go to the teacher to go get facts on it, the fact that something happened to me while I was there, and I had to remember all of that, which I found very frustrating.
She enlisted the help of Dorothy Simon, who says she has helped 1,500 people work on their day school and day scholar claims.
And I even confirmed the resubmissions on her. I told her I'd track, I saved copies of all of the files and whatever, and especially the emails, and it clearly indicates that the documents were sent on time.
And complete.
And complete.
And now they're sending me back an email saying I'm declined for even the $10,000 because I applied for $100,000, and everybody I know was approved for $100,000. And it's just me that didn't get anything.
Simon says everything was done properly, and Rabbit deserves her settlement, which she says should be more than $10,000. The date for last submission of incomplete forms was in June of 2025, after extensions. Simon provided APTN with an email showing the email was sent on January 10th of 2024, which included the trauma Chevy experienced.
As far as this issue is concerned, she complied with the requirements of Deloitte, and she filed everything on time, and then we can probably prove it. And as far as Deloitte is concerned, I don't see the reason why they should have denied them.
Rabbit says this decision is not in the spirit of reconciliation.
If you can't work with me, it says, what does it say about the company if you can't work with somebody who clearly is a progressive advocate fighting for Indigenous rights, and they claim to be a progressive company that's working with Indigenous folks? Well, why can't you work with me when I've given you all of the details, because I've given them everything they need?
Deloitte has not responded to our requests for comment on this matter. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Ginanaskamitin, Chris. Earlier this month, Resilience Montreal and the Native Women's Shelter of Montreal organized a vigil for the community. It's to honor the lives of those who've used shelters and who have also passed away since June 2024. Our journalist Stephanie DeSev shares the story.
Glenn, also known as Lex, Annie Angetigert, Victor Derry. May they rest in peace.
Despite the cold and falling snow, roughly 100 people gathered for a memorial service in honor of the 33 people who died since June 2024. They gathered at Cabot Square in downtown Montreal. Some had lost a sister, a cousin, or a colleague. For many, this vigil was their only opportunity for mourning.
C'est un honneur de les avoir avec nous. Merci.
26 or more of the deceased had stayed in shelters, and according to the organizers, 70% of them were Indigenous. During the songs, people were invited to pray near the sacred fire, where they could take tobacco and throw it into the fire while remembering loved ones.
Puis le tambour, ben, comme vous le savez, c'est l'instrument du cœur. L'instrument du cœur qui nous aide à apaiser la souffrance.
We're living in challenging times as a city.
Anissé Papillard-Luc could barely hold back her tears when talking about her sister Lucy.
I grew up with her all my life. I thought I was never going to lose her, but it was time for her to go.
Papillard-Luc says Lucy died of a brain tumor and heart problems in March 2025. Marie-Lou Maisonneuve is the coordinator of Indigenous initiatives at the only Indigenous cafe in Montreal, the Roundhouse Cafe. Maisonneuve took the mic to honor two of her former employees, starting with May Ituk.
Tout le monde s'est attaché rapidement à elle et nous aimions avoir des conversations avec elle tout en travaillant.
Everyone called her Pinky.
Pinky aimait apprendre et elle aimait travailler avec grand soin, bien faire les choses.
May Pinky Ituk passed away in December of last year. Maisonneuve honored the memory of another barista who participated in the employability program, Leila Pemidzawin Twinish.
Elle avait une voix si douce, autant en parlant qu'en chantant.
Twinish passed away in April of this year.
It's absolutely devastating to have to do these, but it's really important, you know?
Nakosset would like to no longer organize such events. In the 10 years since the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, she insists that little has been done.
It should have already been completed, but only 15 have been completed of the calls to justice. So I think that says a lot. It says that society really doesn't care about implementing anything. So then it affects services for Indigenous people when they have to go to the hospital, when they have to call the police, when they have to, find housing. There's so much discrimination, racism, and it's not getting better.
Qui emporte cette prière-là au Créateur.
The last memorial vigil was held in June of last year. It honored 37 lives lost over the past 3 years. This one highlighted the lives of almost as many people in half the time. Stéphanie Desève, APTN National News, Montreal.
Tapwagicha Stephanie. And we take you to Wallace-Taguig territory for a Christmas feel-good story when we come back. Cheskwa. Come on in, beat the gwe. A cowgirl, a pilot, an astronaut. Barbie has worn many outfits and has had many jobs during her 65 years of production. Now a Saskatchewan person has added their own touch, fitting the fashion icon with a traditional ribbon skirt. CTV's Mick Favel tells us more.
Tyla Gerald just got a version of Barbie not found in any stores. It's fitted with a ribbon skirt, a traditional Indigenous garment similar to the one Gerald is wearing. The new edition is unlike anything in her collection.
Happy.
Yeah.
Excited.
It's nice to have it, right? Mm-hmm. Crystal Pelche remembers her days as a child and her times with Barbie. She recalls not having any dolls which directly reflected who she was as an Indigenous person. She is happy her daughter gets to have a different experience, with Indigenous culture now being better represented.
It's nice. It's like, I wish it was done a long time ago, but, it's nice that they can see this stuff, learn this stuff, know this stuff, be able to wear the items to school, to daycare, to wherever.
Earlier this month, the North Central Family Center received 10 of the Indigenized Barbie dolls. Although the person prefers to remain anonymous, they did share the reasoning behind the creations. The maker creates the dolls in honor of their niece, who died at the age of 5, as well as for Isabella Kulak, who was shamed for wearing a ribbon skirt in 2020. The unique dolls are in high demand at the center.
It's something that you normally don't see, and to have a little, something that you can as well look like in a nice ribbon dress. Unfortunately, we don't have so many of them, but I hope there's more to come in the future.
Right now, doll accessories like these cannot be found in stores, but there is a growing demand which some of the major brand names may want to take a note of.
More of this stuff for the, Barbies, dolls, I think is important. It'd be nice more of that kind of stuff for the dolls.
Proving that Barbie can really be anything. Mick Favel, CTV News, Regina.
Awesome. The Council of the Wolastoqiyik-Wassbequk First Nation have set up a community Christmas basket initiative. It's to feed their members who are scattered throughout the province of Quebec, Canada, and even the United States. Kim Sullivan traveled to Kakuna in the lower St. Lawrence region to learn more.
Aujourd'hui, on va en faire 425.
Nation employee Nancy Dumont is talking about Christmas baskets. She's in the final stage of packing these, filled with either fish or traditional game meat. Once the boxes are ready,
Après ça, ici, on a un beau morceau de saumon.
Patrice Larrivée will travel to the north shore of the St. Lawrence River to distribute them.
Après ça, on a encore des pétanques ici, oui. Ça, c'est bon.
Ici, on a le Wolastoqiyik, qui est le territoire traditionnel.
The Wolastoqiyik-Wassbequk First Nation, also known as the Malisit First Nation of Vigil, is the only Wolastoqiyik nation in Quebec. After the loss of the Vigil reserve lands in 1869, the Quebec government purchased a piece of land in Kakuna to create the Kakuna 22 Reserve. Measuring 0.18 hectares, less than half the size of a football field, Kakuna 22 is the smallest reserve in the country.
C'est pour ça qu'aujourd'hui, on a assisté à un exode et que nos gens sont répartis un peu partout à travers la province. En fait, la province, le Nouveau-Brunswick, les États-Unis.
The general director of the Wolastoqiyik-Wassbequk First Nation, Larry Jennis, says that since the Wolastoqiyik are spread so widely, the implementation of cultural initiatives is essential.
La nation était considérée comme a été reconnue par le gouvernement du Québec en 1989. Donc pour nous, on est un peu à l'adolescence ou au début de l'âge adulte de notre renaissance. Donc pour nous, c'est des gestes d'affirmation, c'est des façons de reconnecter puis de ramener nos gens, de se réapproprier cette culture-là.
It's why they launched a community Christmas basket initiative 10 years ago.
C'est une façon de contrer la hausse des coûts de la nourriture, mais c'est aussi une façon de goûter aux produits du territoire, donc de rester connecté avec ce territoire-là.
And an opportunity to meet up with community members.
Ça permet, je dirais, d'aller au-delà de cette barrière-là de la distance qui s'est créée avec les années.
Logistics aren't easy. Registration begins in April, followed by community fishing and hunting in the fall, preparing and receiving the goods, assembling and filling the boxes, and finally distributing them in time for Christmas.
On parle de 18 endroits différents, donc où on envoie les denrées à nos membres, où ils peuvent aller cueillir leurs boîtes. En plus de ces 18 endroits-là, on a des gens qui vivent en région éloignée, ou font envoyer par bateau, par autobus. On va rejoindre des gens qui sont sur la côte nord du fleuve, dans des régions où il n'y a pas de service de route.
Despite the cold, Simon Gabriel Tremblay-Brisson and Nancy are not complaining.
Ça vaut vraiment la peine. On aime ça. Ça rend du monde heureux.
C'est le plaisir de redonner à la communauté.
Except for the tape that doesn't seem to want to cooperate in this cold.
Je pense pas que j'ai la patience requise pour faire le tapage aujourd'hui.
Catherine Plourde is at her 7th year participating in this initiative.
On a un morceau de bavette, un morceau de fondue chinoise.
In total, more than 1,000 boxes of fish will be handed out and more than 1,300 boxes of game.
C'est plus que de la nourriture pour le corps, c'est de la nourriture pour l'esprit, pour le cœur. C'est des occasions de créer des connexions pour les gens. Donc, c'est beaucoup plus que simplement de la nourriture.
It's a lot of joy coming out of such a small land base. Kim Sullivan, APTN National News, Kakuna 22 in Quebec.
Gananaskamitin Kim, we now want to tell you about this week's web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, how do you feel about 2026? Are you hopeful, worried, a mix of both, or unsure? You can go to our website, aptnnews.ca/poll to cast your ballot. And we tell you about a pair of First Nation boys who made the cut for the World Juniors. That and more right after the break. Cheskwa. To WOW, welcome back. Charlottetown -10, Fredericton -11. Kuujjuaq -18, Nain -17. Chibougamau -16, Quebec City -11. Over to Sault Ste. Marie, it's +1, North Bay -2. Big Trout Lake, minus 21. Wawa, 1. Over to Churchill, minus 29. Thompson, minus 26. Gimli, minus 15. Brandon, also minus 15. North Battleford, minus 21. Regina, minus 20. Up to Uranium City, minus 33. Buffalo Narrows, minus 24. Moving west to Alberta, High Level, minus 26. Peace River, minus 23. Edmonton, minus 18. Calgary, minus 11. Over to BC, Kamloops, minus 1. Campbell River, 4 degrees. Northern BC, Smithers, minus 15. Dease Lake, minus 27. Up north at Old Crow, minus 22. Mayo, minus 30. Wati, minus 23. Norman Wells, minus 19. Tuktoyaktuk is minus 15. Inuvik, minus 14. Cambridge Bay, minus 20. Baker Lake, minus 23. Arctic Bay, minus 31. And Iqaluit, minus 21. 2 First Nation hockey players will be playing for Team Canada in the 2026 World Junior Championship. Whitehorse native Gavin McKenna is one of them. The Trondequechin First Nation citizen scored 1 goal in 5 games during last year's World Juniors. McKenna is a freshman for Penn State's Nittany Lions. Joining McKenna is Carter Bear of the Peguis First Nation in Manitoba. Carter plays with the Western Hockey League's Everett Silvertips. He was drafted 13th overall by the Detroit Red Wings earlier this year. The 2026 World Juniors takes place in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota from Boxing Day until January 5th. Concert to support victims in the Jamaican community of St. Elizabeth, the parish rather, was held in Deserano, Ontario over the weekend. The area is still recovering from the devastation that Hurricane Melissa left behind in October. Over 20 musicians joined together pro bono for a full day of music, food, and a silent auction. They're pooling their talents and generosity to help a small area in Jamaica that remains without power. Tayan Denega, musician David R. Miracle, and wife Kimberly came up with the plan. The funds raised will go to support women and children before the new year.
We wanted to just be able to do this freely with our hearts, and this is a very small part of Jamaica that has been ravaged by the hurricane. So we wanted to try and take care of the children and the women at the shelter where they were performing in Jamaica in August.
We're not trying to save Jamaica, but we're trying to help out a small community from one small community to the other.
So, and there's the Maroon people, the Indigenous Maroon people that will be also helped that are in that area where they were in August touring.
Yeah, man. Enough respect, Kimberly and David. It's that time again. Our Indigenous Languages segment is here. APTN's version of the 12 Days of Christmas. On our last and final day, we take you east to hear from our CEO, Monica Ele, as she shares some holiday greetings with us in the Abenaki language.
Kwai, indaliwizi manikaine, alnon basquan neodzi odanak mahokamongan. I'm gonna go with something simple. I'm gonna say Merry Christmas, and it says Oli Niboya Mehome, and the meaning of that is Oli means something that's good, Niba means night, and Ya Mehomek means one that prays. So Oli Niboya Mehomek means good praying night. I really wish everybody a warm and joyful holiday, and taking the time to appreciate the moments you have with your friends and your loved ones. Hopefully everybody's going to find at least, one moment of joy during this holiday season. There's this word that I really, really like. I like how it sounds and what it means. And it's Wigadam. Wigadam. And that's glad of something. So when you're glad of something, you say, in Wigadam. The N means I. So for me, the holiday season, in Wigadam, to be with family and friends. So I'm glad to be with family and friends. And I think it's such a beautiful word, and it says so nicely, in Wigadam. The way we say Happy New Year is Ole Ingwe Zigaden. Ole Ingwe Zigaden. Ole, once again meaning good. Ingwedigaden means 1 year. We're afraid, especially when we learn our language, to mess up. But I think that's how you learn. A lot of the languages are languages of concept. It's not word for word. Alnobaon Wawogan, the Abenaki language.
Tapwagiche for that, Monica. Now, everyone's deadly auntie, Sherry McKay, is our guest tonight on an all-new episode of Face to Face. She's fresh off a recent comedy show in the pen. Her and her deadly auntie's partner went into the Stony Mountain Penitentiary. McKay shares with me the backlash she got online even before going in.
I shared a post, I guess, when we did the announcement of when everything was finalized and when the Deadly Aunties was going in to do the comedy show, that I guess I didn't anticipate all of the negativity, because I do believe that there is space in the justice system for healing. And so that was the point of view that I was coming from, and how laughter is medicine and medicine is healing, and that whole connection. And, without perpetuating stereotypes, just talking about how we have a large representation in incarcerated and in those spaces. And so it meant a lot to bring laughter to them, especially during this season.
I also asked her if I could join the Deadly Aunties, and I still haven't got an answer back from her. And that's your APTN National News for the afternoon of Tuesday, December 23rd. I'm TR Wheatley. It's been a pleasure to be here with you. Join Dennis Ward again at 6 p.m. Eastern for the news from around the country. Until then, from all of us at APTN to all of you, agase, hitam, gigawapamitinanaw.